Welcome to the webinar. Great to have you here. I'm Omar Zenhom. I'm the co-founder and CEO of WebinarNinja. Great to see you here. As you're joining the webinar, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Go ahead and say hello. Let us know a little bit about what you do and who you serve. Whether you're a coach, a business consultant, an author, a speaker, a creator of any kind, let us know. We would love to hear about what you do and who you serve. Along with me in the chat is Jenny Lee, who is our community manager and the mayor of Ninja Town here in the chat. So if you have any questions, she's here to also help us out. She also heads customer success. So she is the person you're going to see and work with if you were to join WebinarNinja. Great to have everybody here. As you're coming in, guys, please go ahead and introduce yourself. I see people coming into the webinar now, so go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're from, a little bit about what you do and who you serve. Great to learn about you. Also, you'll see that there's a poll that just got released in the chat. And I want to just learn a little bit how you sell right now. Do you have a system right now to sell your products and services, whether it's your coaching program or your courses, or maybe it's your newsletter or whatever it might be? I'd love to learn a little bit more. So go ahead and answer that poll as we get started. So today's title is all about how to sell more with engaging webinars. Webinars have been around for about a decade now, and there's been a lot of changes along the way. And we want to make sure that you're doing things the right way. You're doing things the way that doesn't feel icky, a way that feels natural to you. But more importantly, a way that you get to engage with your own customers so you can build that relationship, build that trust. And that way, when you build that bond and build that trust, it's not really as important to get the sale immediately, because what you're doing here is you're building a relationship with them so that when they are ready to buy, they're not going to go shopping around. They're going to come back to you. Okay. Hey, Brian, good to have you here. You're in the solar business in Florida. Awesome. Love to learn a little bit more. Or do you sell solar panels to homeowners? What exactly do you do? Are you doing panels on maybe camper vans? Camper vans are filling up all my Instagram feed right now. I don't know why. I guess some of the videos I watched recently. All right, let's kick off, guys. So let me tell you a little bit about what makes this webinar different from other webinars. I'm not going to be selling you a course. This doesn't lead to some sort of course that you could buy so that you can learn more about how to do this. Today, this is not the purpose of the webinar. I'm not trying to do that. I'm going to give you everything you need, okay? I'm going to tell you everything you need to know so that you can run more engaging webinars so you could sell more of your products and services. This is a webinar that doesn't really have much hype because we use all the data that we've gathered from what works and what doesn't. From over 2 million people have attended a webinar using our software. Over 20,000 users have used WebinarNinja. So we are going to share with you what really works based on the data and the real experiences of our customers. Okay. We're also going to teach you the what, the why, and the how. Okay. I know you could tell me in the chat if you've experienced this. Let me know in the chat if you've experienced this, where you've been on a webinar and they tell you how important this topic is and, you know, what your life is going to be if you don't do this, but they never really show you how to do it, right? So that is not today's webinar. What we're going to do is show you all the things you need to do, show you how to do it so that when you leave today's webinar, you can implement right away, okay? Because I'm not trying to sell you a course or anything like that. I'm just going to give you the content you need so you can get going, okay? This is my promise to you today. Okay, I'm going to give you a complete system to sell more courses, coaching, services, whatever you sell. And you could pop and let me know what you sell in the chat. And with the power of webinars, I'm going to show you how you can use live video to be able to engage and build relationships with your audience like we're doing right now. And so that you can be able to sell your products and services easily at scale, right? So what we're trying to do here is leverage our time as much as possible. So instead of doing, an hour call with one-on-one with somebody or an in-person visit, we're going to do this at scale to several people, many people, even hundreds of people. Some people in our community do this on a regular basis. So I'm going to give you the skills. I'm going to give you the plan. I'm going to give you the tools even so that you can go ahead and get started and implement the system that I'm going to share with you today. Okay. You're going to learn how to create, you're going to learn how to run, and you're going to learn how to sell on a webinar. Okay. So these are the three kind of big parts of today's workshop. Is that we're going to show you how to create a webinar and how to put it all together, not only in terms of the content and the slides, but also how do you actually physically do this with our software, WebinarNinja, if you want to use us, and then how to run the thing, and then how to sell your products and services. Okay. And then the last part of this is your end of the bargain. Okay. So I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm going to share all this stuff. I'm going to give you the skills, the plans, the tools. I'm going to show you how to create and run and sell a webinar. This is your side of the bargain. You're going to take notes and you're going to participate and ask questions if you have any questions. Okay. So the reason why I encourage you all to take notes, whether it's on a notebook, on a piece of paper, or in a note taking app or a Word doc or whatever it might be, is because it starts the habit of taking action. Okay. By taking notes, you're taking the first steps of implementing what you're learning today. And here's the truth. I can give you gold today. I can give you all the great information. I can tell you exactly what to do. But if you don't do anything with it, it's pretty much worthless. Okay. It's pretty much worthless. It's like reading, a fiction novel, right? It's entertaining. It's great. It's fun in the moment. But if you don't do anything with it, it's not going to really help you. Okay. So what we're trying to do here is I want you to take action by start taking some notes and start thinking about how to apply this to your own business. If this sounds good to you, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Say, yes, let's do this. Anything in the chat, just so that I know that you have buy-in and you're ready to go. Okay. So love it. A quick note here. If you want to engage with me like I'm doing right now with you in the chat, go ahead and pop your answers or your responses in the chat. And then, of course, if there's a question you have along the way now or in the future, go ahead and pop it in the questions tab. There's a questions tab up top. You can also just use the plus sign down below where you enter your messages, and you can go ahead and submit a question if you'd like at any time. There's no stupid questions. There's no simple questions. We're here to help you along the way. You're going to get the most that you put into this webinar. So the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. So go ahead and utilize these tools throughout today's webinar. Okay. Okay. So also, if you stick with me to the end of today's workshop, okay, and you are great students and you're taking notes and everything, I'm going to give you a free gift. I'm going to give you a few free gifts, actually. I'm going to give you a pre-webinar checklist. This is a PDF. It's a great checklist our users love to use because it calms the nerves and lets them know that, hey, this is everything I got to do and make sure everything is on point before I hit start broadcast and start my webinar, okay? I'm also going to give you access to the replay for those who are here today. So you could rewatch and follow. It'll be available for 48 hours. And then I'll also answer all your questions, like I mentioned, that you have before the end of the webinar. Okay. So for those who don't know me, my name is Omar Zenhom. I'm the co-founder and CEO of this company, WebinarNinja, this webinar software that you're on right now. I started this back in 2014. And mostly because I used to be a high school and university teacher. I used to be a classroom teacher for 13 years. I have a master's in education. And when I moved into full-time entrepreneurship, I fell in love with webinars because I was like, hey, this is awesome. I could teach across the world instantly to hundreds of people. This is amazing, right? I ran over 500 webinars in my career. It's probably close to 1,000 now. And so I know my way around a webinar. So I'm going to share with you all the things that work and also the things that don't work, okay? The things that I've made mistakes and some things that don't work now but did work in the past. So that way you can just learn from my own experiences. I'm also the host of the $100 MBA Show podcast, which is a Best of iTunes podcast. We have over 250 million downloads to date. If you're interested in learning and growing your business, this is a business podcast that has business lessons that is published 3 days a week. So go ahead and check us out on your favorite podcast app if you are interested in learning and growing your business. I've built both of these businesses, my podcast business and the software business, using webinars. And that's why I'm so enthusiastic to share today's workshop with you, because this stuff works, right? I've been able to build 2 businesses using the power of webinars. And I say the power of webinars, and I feel like it sounds kind of cliche. It sounds a little bit like a catchphrase, but really what it is, it's the power of being able to make relationships, build trust with my audience at scale. It's very hard to do this outside of live video, right? You either have to go in person and do events or something like that, because the connection and the rapport you can build and the authority you could build is a lot faster, it's a lot quicker, it's a lot deeper with live video versus if you're doing it over email or doing on a standalone video or with recorded courses or whatever it might be. Okay, and I'll share with you exactly how I pull that off. So what I was doing at the time when I started running webinars is I was selling my own courses and programs. I would speak on stages. This is kind of I was a course creator, and I was selling my courses using webinars. But I would run a webinar every single week to sell my products and services and bring in new clients and bring in new customers into our membership. But it was a huge headache, right? I hated all the other solutions that are out there. This is back in 2014 when we started. You can see my cat was giving me some TLC as I was plowing through creating another webinar for the next week. I had to put together all these pieces of software: webinar software, landing page software, video storage, email marketing, automation, time zone conversions, polls, offers, analytics. I had to use all these different pieces of software and Frankenstein them together to make it all work. And I was just like, there's got to be a better way than this. This is ridiculous. So I sketched this little drawing on a napkin, actually. It was actually not a napkin. It was actually my journal, because I try to journal every day. And I basically just wanted to show up to a webinar and be able to let the software kind of take care of it, take care of the webinar for me, create the webinar, create all the moving parts, all these pieces of software, and I could just show up and teach. I just wanted the technology to dissolve in the background. That's really what I wanted to do. And that's what we created. 8 years later, over 2 million people have attended a webinar on WebinarNinja. We've had an incredible run with great users growing their business using live video. So I'm going to share with you what works and what doesn't from these users' experiences in today's webinar. So I'm going to show you how to sell more with engaging webinars. Before we begin, I want you to tell me in the chat right now, in the chat, tell me, what is your biggest fear? What is the biggest problem that comes with running a webinar to sell your products or services? Is it you're worried about people not attending? Are you worried about pricing your product? Are you worrying about, I'm not really good at sales? I'm good at the teaching, but I don't know how to transition to the sales portion. Tell me, what is the biggest problem that comes to your head? What is the first thought that comes to your head when it says running a webinar to sell your products and services? I want to hear from you in the chat. Pop it in right now, okay? Because I want to see if it lines up with our data or with our research of the 3 big problems that people mention when they get started with us, right? And we collect a lot of data from our users so that we can be able to learn from their experiences and share it with you so that you can get better. So let me know in the chat, what are some of the big problems you think about when it comes to running a webinar to sell your products or services? I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and pop it in the chat right now. Getting people to show up is a huge one. And we'll talk about how we can address this. This is a big one. A lot of people are like, okay, what if I run it and people don't show up? What if or not enough people show up? Or maybe I have, too few of an audience, okay? That's something that we're going to talk about in a moment, okay? So I'm going to share with you what are the 3 big problems that people have, okay? The first one is overwhelm, right? They feel overwhelmed with all the things they have to do, whether it's creating the pages, whether it's creating the actual slides, whether it's presenting on camera, whether it's creating an offer that's compelling, whether it's creating the graphics that promote that offer, whatever it is. They feel like there's a lot to do, so it's kind of like too hard bucket. I'm going to do this some other time, and they kind of just procrastinate. Here's a little secret that I learned in business over 20 years. If it's hard, it's probably one of the things you want to do, not because, oh, hard, persevere, climb the mountain. No, because when you do something hard, it's not crowded there. Not a lot of people are doing it, okay? Because a lot of people are just putting it off and saying, oh, maybe I'll do it later, or maybe now it's not the time, or whatever it is. What you'll discover is when you do hard things, it's like, oh, there's not a lot of people doing this. I'm actually in a blue ocean. There's not a lot of people here to compete with. So that's what's really great about doing something that might seem a little bit hard at first, but then you get a hang of it, okay? Number 2 is, will they show, right? Will people show up? Will people attend? Is my topic good enough? How do I know what people want to learn or what they want to hear about? That's a second big problem that people share, okay? The third one is sales anxiety, right? A lot of people, they're very good at their craft, right? They're very good at their knowledge. They're very good at what they do, their expertise, right? Like, for example, Brian is really good with solar panels. He knows the solar technology, right? But I'm not going to assume here, but maybe Brian doesn't feel as confident when it comes to sales, right? Maybe he does. But the point here is I'm just using him as an example, but You probably know your stuff really well, but when it comes to actually turning or transitioning from workshop to sales, a sales pitch or a sales offer, you feel a little bit, oh, I don't know what to say. This feels weird. And I'm going to put you at ease. I'm going to show you how to cure that anxiety and talk about, like, we're not going to be pitching here anymore. Okay. We're not going to be like, hey, here's my spiel and hope you buy it. No, this is not how we're going to do it. Okay. And what we're going to do instead is that we're going to learn a little bit about who is on the webinar, and we're going to learn a little bit about how we can solve their problems. And then we're going to present the problem, a solution to their problem. That's exactly what we're doing. And we're going to make it very comfortable for you and comfortable for the audience. So it's not all cringy. Okay. And I'm actually going to give you an example. I'm actually going to do my own sales presentation so that you can feel what I'm feeling and you can understand how to do the same for your business. Okay. I see people have joined a little bit late. That's all good. As you're catching up, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you just introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know what you do and who you serve, just so that we can be able to cater today's session to you. Okay. I want you for a moment to imagine if you had a clear step-by-step plan to solve all three of these problems. I want you to think about what it would be like if you had an easy way to get more attendees. Okay, a simple and authentic sales strategy that you can do over and over again. One of the things that you as a business owner need to nail, this is like so important for any business, is a surefire way to acquire customers. Meaning that every time you do this, you can make a sale. Every time you do this, you make sales, right? This is the first thing anybody who's going to invest in your company or wants to learn about your company, or even a bank that's going to give you a loan. How do you acquire customers, right? How do I know you're going to get a steady flow of customers, right? They'll look at your history, but they also want to know, like, what's your customer acquisition model, right? So what I'm going to show you is basically that, how you can use webinars to get customers on demand every single time, a whole cadence, so that you can be able to do this on a regular basis and acquire new customers regularly. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you is a method I call the Tokyo method. This is a method that I have created and have shared with the world for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's because it's so effective. And Tokyo is an acronym, okay? And I have a picture of Tokyo. This is me and Nicole in Tokyo. Nicole is my co-founder and my partner in life. But also, we love the city of Tokyo. It just happens to be the acronym that we use. But let me share with you what the Tokyo method is all about, okay? Let's take a look. So the first letter in Tokyo is T, and it stands for topic. Okay. I start with this because it's probably the most important thing that you'll do for your webinar to affect the success of your webinar. It's really what is pivotal to your success. It starts with the topic, right? You might write on your notes right now, like, okay, the topic is important, right? My title is very important. I want you to cross out the word title or topic. And really what it is, it's a promise. Your topic is your promise. Hey, Brandon, great to have you. Awesome. Cybersecurity, huge, especially in these days. So your topic is your promise. Okay. What does that mean? Remember, I said in the beginning of the webinar, in the beginning of this session, I said the whole point of you running webinars is to build trust with your audience. How many of you have been on a webinar where it said how to become an amazing entrepreneur, how to make $1 million in 7 days, how to blah, 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 right? They have these huge, clickbaity titles. And then you go to the webinar, you go to the session, and it does not fulfill that title. It just kind of talks about it. Right? How many of you have been through that? How many of you have been through that in the past, where you have gone to a webinar, gone to a session, watched a video, maybe on YouTube or something, and the title said one thing, and then you go to the actual video and you're like, I didn't really learn anything. That didn't really match the title, right? I didn't really learn how to make $1 million in 7 days, whatever it was at the time, okay? And this is horrible, because what happens here is when people do this, they are breaking trust. Okay. Your whole job here is to deliver on your word. Your whole job here is to choose something that you can really, really deliver on. Okay. So your topic has to be like, I'm promising you this is what I'm going to deliver. And what you're going to do, obviously, is over deliver on that promise. Okay. So this is why it's so important to have a topic that's really specific. The more specific, the better. The problem is a lot of people try to draw crowds by saying something grandiose, right? How to become an amazing basketball player, right? If I was a basketball coach, right? How to become the next LeBron James, whatever it is, right? That sounds catchy. It may sounds markety and it sounds like it's great, but it's actually shooting you in the foot because it's not specific. Because can you deliver on that? Probably not, right? You can't do that in an hour. You can't transform someone into LeBron James in 1 hour, right? So what you want to do instead is get really, really specific. Okay. So for example, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to create a webinar with you, and we're going to get really specific with this example. Let's say, for example, I'm using um, the example of being a basketball coach. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I'll just go full screen on that just so everybody can see. So I'm inside my WebinarNinja account right now. I hit create webinar up top, and then you can easily just create any kind of webinar. We all have all kinds of webinars: live, automated webinars, series webinars, hybrid webinars. But for the purpose of this example, we're going to just do a live webinar, one webinar that we're going to be able to offer the audience. So if I'm a basketball coach, tell me in the chat, let's get specific. If I'm a basketball coach, give me some suggestions. What do you think I should say in terms of like teaching a webinar about basketball or improving your basketball skills? Okay. Give me some suggestions. So basketball has many facets. There's offense, there's defense, there's shooting, there's dribbling, there's passing, there's all kinds of stuff, right? So what if we just focus on shooting? Okay. And what if we just focus on a specific kind of shooting, like free throw shooting, right? And maybe we get really specific about how to improve your free throw shooting by a certain amount, like by 10%. Okay. So that is really specific. So I say how to shoot free throws 10% better. Right. That is really specific. I'm not talking about all of basketball. I'm not talking about offense and defense. Maybe my course, maybe my product, maybe my training, maybe my whatever covers all that. But I can't cover it all in 1 hour. I need to get really specific so I can deliver on the promise. So here we go. How to shoot how to shoot free throws 10% better. And I can make any webinar inside of WebinarNinja free or paid, but I'm going to make this free because this is like a webinar workshop that I'm doing for free so I can bring in customers. So I'm going to hit create webinar. And once I hit create webinar, WebinarNinja creates everything for you. This is what the magic of WebinarNinja is like. It's done. It's over right now. So if I go here, you'll see it's all completed and I can publish it and go with it if I wanted to. But if I want to make any edits to it, I can go ahead and edit the registration page, the thank you page, email notifications, the registration form, all kinds of stuff, right? My email integrations. But we have everything built in. So for example, if you want to customize your registration page, you don't need to be a designer or a coder or anything like that. You can just go ahead and customize the page templates that we have here for you. Change the colors, change the images, change the text, all kinds of stuff, make it super simple, right? So it's very, very easy. And once you do this, you could save it and use it as a template for your future webinar. So it's super, super simple. When people register for the webinar, they get an email automatically through your own email marketing system inside of WebinarNinja. So we have all these emails set up for them so that when they register, they get an automatic email with the link so they know where to go, as well as reminder emails that are all set up. We have already built all the best practices for you. So you know exactly how often to email them, when to email them before the webinar, and then even after the webinar, follow-up emails for replays and for those who missed it and those who attended, so that you can be able to track, who watched the replay as well. So as you can see, super simple, but we got really specific with our title. Okay, how to shoot free throws 10% better. And we're very specific. Now, the point here is that by the end of the webinar, I can easily show them some techniques to improve the free throw shooting. So by the end of the webinar, like, okay, this person actually delivered on their promise, actually delivered on what they promised on the title. You have immediately built a lot of trust. Here's full transparency, guys. The title of today's webinar, how to sell more with engaging webinars. If I don't deliver on that title, I have broken trust, right? I didn't really deliver on what I promised you. So this is why it's so important, so that you can make sure that you build that trust, because that trust is going to be important when it comes to the sales aspect. Okay. The second part of the Tokyo method is all right, outline. You want to outline your lesson plan, basically your session, and basically you're going to work backwards from the promise, from the title. Okay, you're going to outline your lesson plan in what I call 3 mic drop moments. Okay, 3 mic drop moments. What does that mean? Okay, there are things about your product, your service, your information, your expertise that are like really wow. Like, whoa, okay, that's great. I want to learn more. I want to see more, right? All that kind of stuff, right? So you want to break it down into 3 mic drop moments. So in the basketball example, I might show them a technique they never thought of when it comes to improving their free throw shooting, or tucking in their elbow so the ball's always straight, so they only have to worry about if it's short or long, right? Little things that they're like, okay, that's great. I didn't know that's really helpful, right? And you need to do 3 of these to get to the point. I say 3, you can go up to 5, but I like 3 because they're easier to remember. There's a magic in the number 3, I have found. So 3 mic drop moments is what you want to do. So let me give you an example of a mic drop moment for this webinar, right? Very meta, right? Okay. Here's an example. Okay. Would you like to know how to come up with a topic that fills your webinar? This is a real question, guys. Let me know in the chat. Would you like to know how to come up with a topic that fills your webinar? Okay. Let me know. A lot of us are racking our brains. Oh, is this a good topic? Is this going to get people to come? Is this catchy enough? Right? For sure. Okay. Hell yeah. All right. So, the first webinar that I encourage every member to run before they get started, before they run their sales webinar, is what's called an Ask Me Anything webinar. What you want to do is you want to create a webinar and say, hey, guys, ask me any questions when it comes to my area of expertise. Okay, when it comes to my area of expertise, whether you're in solar panels or whether you're a business coach, whether you're a dental coach, whether you're teaching people how to get started in karate, whatever it is, right? You know your areas of expertise. You just put it on your social media, you email your list, you tell them, hey, I'm running on like basically open office hours, right? You can ask me any questions you have. Go ahead and join this webinar. This is a very simple webinar to create because you don't have to really create any slides or anything like that, because you're just answering questions. And what happens here is that people start asking questions in the questions area inside of Webinar Ninja. People can upvote questions. So they could say, hey, yes, I like this question. This is a really important question. And what happens by the end of the webinar, you're going to have a ton of questions that you have answered. But more importantly, you're going to have really hot topics. You don't need to come up with the ideas. You can crowdsource your topics, because the questions that people ask on this webinar are things they're dying to learn, things they're suffering from, things that are pain points. Okay. So you could just take the top 5 questions that got upvoted. Okay. And those become your selection of topics that you can use for your webinars, right? You can start with the top one, the most popular question that people asked. I'm going to run a webinar about that. This is how I came up with this topic of this webinar, right? So this is one of the easiest ways to come up with a great topic for your webinar. Don't come up with it yourself. Ask your audience, and they will tell you what they're struggling with an Ask Me Anything webinar. So that is an example of a mic drop moment, okay? Where I'm showing you how to do what I'm teaching you with a real example, a real exercise that you can do. Love it. Brian says absolutely. Okay, great stuff, guys. So your first webinar, ask me anything, an open Q&A, and that way you can crowdsource your topics. Okay. The next part of the Tokyo method is keynote slides. Your slides are really important because imagine you went to school from kindergarten to grade 12, and there was no whiteboard. There was no chalkboard if you're as old as me, right? There's no smartboard these days. There's no way for the teacher to show any visual aids. Imagine that. How hard it would be to learn. Okay. This is why the slides are so important, because it gives people a modality for them to connect with you and learn and grasp the information. People learn in different ways. Some people are visual learners. But the point here is that your slides give you a level of professionalism. The good news is that I'll show you today how you can get our templates for free for your webinars, how you can get our webinar template for Keynote, for PowerPoint, and for Canva, so that no matter what tool you use, you can be able to use our template and know exactly. All you got to do is just change your logo, and it tells you exactly in the slide what to put in each slide, so that you can be able to turn those slides into something, a professional presentation. So super, super important. and we do the work for you. So I'll tell you later how you can get that. All right. This is the meat and potatoes, guys. Y stands for your engagement. When it comes to webinars, your job is to train your audience to be engaged. You can't just expect them to engage with you, right? You can't just say, oh man, this is crickets, right? You have to get them used to training or getting used to engage, right? And uh, the best way for me to illustrate this is to remind you of the first day of school. The first day of school. Remember the first day of school, let's say in fifth grade, okay? You go to first period on the first day of school. You walk into a classroom. The teacher's at the desk. You know, this is Mr. Johnson's class. You go to Mr. Johnson, and he's just sitting at the desk, and you know what to do. You just kind of mosey on in. You sit on your desk. A friend comes in. You start chatting with them. And then eventually what happens is the bell starts to ring, and all the kids are in the class already. And then Mr. Johnson gets up from his desk, and what does he do? He says, quiet down, everybody. Come on, let's get started, right? In that moment, the impression that you have given, what Mr. Johnson has given to the class is this class is unorganized, that it's going to be a free for all. You, as a student, it's like, I'm going to coast in this class. This is going to be a lot of fun. I get to talk to my friends. It's super relaxed. This teacher doesn't have it together. Okay. How many of you remember that? Okay. Tell me in the chat. How many remember that experience? Now, in second period, you go to your next class and you might find Miss McCormick, who was my favorite teacher growing up. Miss McCormick would greet you at the door. Okay. She would greet you at the door. Hey, welcome, Omar, to the class. It's great to see you here. I have an assignment on the board. Here's your seat number. Okay. I want you to get started on the assignment, find your seat number, get started on the assignment. I can't wait to see what you come up with. We're going to get started in a few minutes. Immediately, as soon as you walk into this class, it's a completely different impression. You're like, oh, wow. Seat number? What's my seat number? Oh, there's an assignment. What's that? What do I have to do? Okay, I got to take a piece of paper. Immediately, you have the impression that Miss McCormick class is a class that we're going to do work. We're not going to coast. She has it together. She's professional. All right. You're going to do the same thing in your webinars. You have to see how Miss McCormick immediately put me on task as I went to the class. I immediately got trained to be engaged. What's the first thing I asked you to do in the beginning of the webinar? I said, introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about what you do and who you serve. This is a curveball. This is a softball question, right? It's not a curveball question. It's a softball question. This is not asking you to share me your deepest, darkest secrets and your pain points in your life. No, I don't really want that right now. What I want is an easy question that you can answer so that you can get used to engaging with me. Okay, that you can get used to putting stuff in the chat, right? And that is the point here. The point here is not to ask hard questions. The point here is to get them to learn that, hey, in my webinars, it's engaging. We talk to each other. You're in the chat all the time, okay? Give me a thumbs up right now in the chat if you resonate with this, if this sounds like a good idea, if this makes sense to you, okay? As I share some more things. The first minute of your webinar it's super important. It's called the minute of power, okay? Like I mentioned, you got to put them on task right away, right? I ask them a very simple question. I get them to answer a poll. I launched a poll so you can answer the poll, right? This is important because immediately they feel like, okay, I'm going to be doing things in this webinar. This is not like, a home shopping network webinar. It's a webinar that I'm actually going to learn, right? The next is your energy matters. Here's a secret, guys. I'm not like this all the time. Okay. I'm not like this at the dinner table and I say, pass the greens, guys, give it to me now. No, I'm trying as much as possible to show my enthusiasm for what I do. So your energy does matter. And this is why I stand when I give my webinars. This is just my own hack. Is I like to stand because it gives me energy to be on my feet. I feel like I'm speaking on stage. And in a way, it is a presentation. So I like to just remind myself my energy does matter when I'm on the webinar. It does convey my enthusiasm for the product. And you want to be able to correlate good vibes and positive vibes to what you do. Okay. More than greet them. So as people are coming in, I like to ask questions. They tell me a little bit about themselves. Oh, tell me, solar panels, is that for houses? Is that for van life? What is that all about? Somebody says, hey, I'm from New York. Oh, great. I'm from New York. I'm born and raised in Long Island. Whereabouts do you live? Oh, West Village. I used to live there when I was this age. Just engage with them a little bit beyond than just, hey, what's up, Cindy? Hey, what's up, Jenny? That type of thing, right? Set the stage to what you expect. This is very important to let them know that, hey, this is what you're going to get. and this is what you're going to do. I expect you to take notes. I expect you to engage in the questions. The reason why I do this is because immediately I say, this is an exchange, right? This is not a passive experience. I'm going to do this for you, and you're going to do this for me. And I get people to say, hey, give me a thumbs up in the chat if you agree with me. And they put the thumbs up in the chat. The point here is that you're getting buy-in from the audience that I will engage with you. I will participate. Okay. Because that's a fair exchange. Fair enough. You're going to do all this stuff for me, and I'm going to have to do this. Okay. Let's do it. Okay. And then start engaging before you teach. I really believe that engagement is more important than anything else. Why? It's not just because engaging is fun. It's because engagement is how we build relationships. We talk back and forth with people. That's how we build a relationship, build a connection. That's how we build trust. And we have an old saying in teaching is that students don't care about how much you know until you show them how much you care, right? How am I supposed to care about you if I know nothing about you? Right? And the first step of being able to help you is learning about you so that I can empathize with your situation and be able to give you some strategies. So that's why engagement is so important. Good stuff. It takes practice. It does, Brandon. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. But this is something that you could do as well. Just pick up and get started. I started with 0 people on my email list. I started with 3 people on my webinar. That's how I got started, and I encourage everybody just to get started because, again, like I said, anything that's hard, it's not actually that competitive. Not a lot of people are out there doing it, so I love it. Engaging webinars. Some more tips here. Check-ins and questions. Let me give you an example. Guys, let me know in so far in this webinar, what was your biggest takeaway? Give me your biggest takeaway so far. Okay. Is it the keynote slides? Is it to be specific with your topic and your title and your promise? Is it the 3 mic drop moments? Is it Ask Me Anything webinar? Let me know in the chat right now. What is your biggest takeaway so far from the webinar? Pop it in the chat right now. Let me know. What have you gotten so far that really has resonated with you, or you remember that you want to implement in your next webinar? Let me know. Pop it in there. Okay. 3 mic drop moments. Okay. What else? Mic drop moments and engagement. Good stuff. Okay. Keep going, guys. Pop it in the chat. Build trust. Love it, Brian. Okay, guys, why am I doing this? Why am I asking you to give me a takeaway? The reason why, and why it's so powerful, and comes from my teaching days, what I learned is that one of the things, if you want somebody to learn something, it's not enough for them to understand. They have to also remember. Retention is a part of building a skill. If you can't repeat it, if you can't remember it, it's very hard for you to actually repeat it. Okay. So, and what this does is the audience automatically has to think, oh, what did we learn today? We learned this, 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 this. And then they recall these things and then they choose something and then they pop it in the chat. This is a lot going on. What happens here is you're basically making them confirm in their brain that they got value from the webinar. That they can't deny now that they learned something because they just told you they learned something great. This is my biggest takeaway, right? So automatically this kind of solders in the trust. It's like, okay, I really believe this person's of value. They're an authority because I actually learned something and I wrote it in black and white and I typed it out, and I'm not going to call myself a liar, right? So at the end of the day, it's really important for you to constantly ask people for their takeaways so far. Okay. Final value engagement. I like to ask at the end of the webinar. I also, in the beginning of the webinar, I often ask, what would be a win for you today? What you're looking to get out of today's webinar? And then at the end of the webinar, I ask, did you get a win today? Was today's webinar valuable? And the reason, again, is I want to close off. I want to close off with a seal that says, yes, I got value. They type it in the chat. They confirm in their own brain that this was actually pretty good. I associate your brand, who you are, with somebody who's professional by making sure that I confirm that I did get value, right? So that's why I always ask, did you get a win today? Did you learn today? What was your biggest takeaway? And they pop it in the chat at the end. Here's a secret, guys, before we go into offer. The reason why the final value engagement is so important is something that nobody wants to talk about. Okay, here it is. You can't make somebody buy. You can't make anybody buy anything. Okay. In fact, people that try to do very pushy sales, high pressure sales, stack the value and try to put all this pressure on you, that results in a lot of chargebacks, a lot of complaints, a lot of refunds. It's going to hurt your reputation in the long run. Okay. But what you can do, can't make everybody buy, but what you can do is you can make people connect with you, and you can build trust with this audience so that when they are ready to buy, they're not going to go shopping around. They see you as the authority. You had that final value engagement. They confirmed, yes, this person actually gave me value, that they'll come back and they'll buy from you. I can't tell you how many times I've run a webinar to the same person. The same person will attend my webinar 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then on the 6th time they'll buy. Or they'll watch it once and then they'll watch the replay and then they'll buy. Okay? You can't make anybody buy. Okay? But what you can do is make it your mission to build trust and build a connection with your audience so that when they are ready to buy and they can afford it and they're going to be successful with what you do, then they're going to go ahead and choose you. How many of you have done that before as a consumer, where you have been on a webinar, seen an ad, saw something on Amazon, you didn't buy immediately, but it's in the back of your mind, and then you're reminded of something, you know what, I really should buy that. I really should get started. I really should learn that. I really should do that. And then you take action, you go back to the same person because you have that recollection that this is something that's credible. Okay. We forget how we act as consumers when we try to sell something, but that's really how most people act. Okay. So let's talk about offer. Now, what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you my simple formula for delivering a great offer. Okay. And what we want to do here is we're going to start with offer engagement, magic transition, show and tell. I'm going to show you what that means. Show, don't sell. Sorry. Show, don't sell. Next step, why buy now, and CSS, which stands for customer success story. Okay. This is basically your formula. But let me break it down. Okay. I'm going to switch it a little bit here. We're going to start with the magic transition. Okay. And I will show you an example of me giving an offer so that you can see all these parts in action. Okay. So what's a magic transition? The magic transition is what we talked about earlier. Who here, say me, you can put like 5 E's if you want in the chat. Say me if you struggle with transitioning from a workshop to a sales offer, where you're like, I don't know how to connect the two. I don't know how to go from teacher of the year to salesman of the year, right? How do I go from the two, right? Let me know in the chat if that's something that you worry about, or you don't have a surefire way to do this every single time. Okay. So let me know. All right. So I'm going to give you a gift here. The magic transition is 1 sentence. Okay. You want to write this down, right? And I'm not putting it on the slide because I want you to listen and I want you to write it down. Okay. So this is the sentence. Would you like to implement whatever your title of the webinar? How to engage more and sell more? How to XYZ? How to blah, blah, blah? How to shoot free throws 10% better? Would you like to implement title of the webinar with far greater ease? That's it. Would you like to implement whatever the title of your webinar is with far greater ease? Okay. You have taught them everything you need to teach them on the webinar, but now it's time for them to put into action. Now, do they want to do it the easy way? Everybody's going to say yes. Yes, I'd like to learn how to do it with far greater ease. Well, that's basically what your product is. That's what your product or service is. Well, yep. That's great to hear that you want to implement this with far greater ease. I actually have something I created that does exactly that. It's called XYZ. Let me tell you about it. That's it. The whole point of this is telling them like, hey, you can take what I just taught you and run with it if you want to. But if you want to do it the easy way with accountability and support and help and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to love what I have here, right? If you want to, for example, even if it's a physical product, like say we have a customer that has a honey farm and she sells organic honeys. And she does these webinars where she shows people how to create all these different recipes, how to with her honey. It's like, here's a great dessert with honey. Here's peanut butter and honey sandwiches. Da, 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 da. Would you like to know how to do this? Would you like to be able to do this easily with far greater ease? Yes, I would love to do these recipes. These are awesome. Well, great. I have a great package for you today that comes with all the things you need, the honey, the recipe book, everything, and then it'll come to your door. That is your offer, right? Is Would you like to do what we just talked about today on the webinar with far greater ease? Yes, here's my product or service. So that's super simple, very easy to do. Offer engagement. One of the things you want to do before you start talking about your product is asking people why they have not done this yet, right? What have they struggled with? Why? Because then instead of you having to go through every single feature, every single use case of your product, like for example, my webinar software, there's thousands of features. I can't show you everything inside of an hour, right? Even if I use the whole hour to show you Webinar Ninja. But what I can do is I can address some of your pain points. So for example, when you guys ask me, hey, I am worried about attendees. I'm worried about all this, if it's complicated, all that kind of stuff. Some people give me the reasons why, and then I then show them how my product or service addresses their pain points with your solution. So the point here is that instead of you showing everything, just show them the things about your product or service that helps them solve their problems. Because you don't really care about all the problems in the world. You just care about their problems, the people on the webinar, right? So people are like, hey, I have a problem with XYZ. Well, let me show you how our product or service helps you with XYZ, right? If you have a training program, they're like, well, I'm a beginner. I'm not sure. This seems like a lot of work. No problem. We have a module called orientation, okay, that actually shows you how to get started, and we walk you by the hand. So it just eases the problem, and now they don't have a reason not to buy because you just addressed that issue. Okay, sound good? Let me know in the chat. Thumbs up. Number 3, show, don't sell. This kind of goes hand in hand. You don't need to sell anything or say any kind of magic words. Just got to show them how your product solves their problems, right? Just show them by sharing your screen like I did and show them how you can do that. Okay. You got to tell them what the next step is. You can't just say, okay, great. That's my product. There you go. You could buy with this button. No, you got to actually paint the picture. You got to say, hey, there's an offer here. When you click this button, you're going to go to the checkout page. At the checkout page, you're going to choose a plan, or you're going to use this coupon code or whatever it is for the offer. And then from there, you're going to get an email that's going to welcome you. And from there, you're going to get started. You're going to get a call from one of our representatives, and they're going to help you get started with an onboarding call, whatever it is. Paint the picture of what's going to happen. People have anxiety when they buy, and they want to know what the next step is. So they're like, okay, that's clear. How many of you are like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next when you're buying something? Just tell them what's going to happen next to make it easier. Listen, here's a rule that you should staple to your wall in front of you every day. There's a rule that I live by when it comes to marketing and sales. A confused mind never buys. If it's confusing, if people don't know what's going to happen, if there's some fog of any kind, they will leave. They will not buy. This is why Amazon created this whole thing where you could just click one button and you buy it, right? A confused mind never buys. Make it super clear for them what the next steps are. Then why buy now? Give them a reason to buy now. Give them a special offer. Give them a compelling reason to take action. This is why Macy's has like a one-day sale every Wednesday. They just want to get you in the door, right? And you got to give them a reason to buy now because they can put it off otherwise. Okay. And lastly, CSS, which is customer success story. And I'm going to give you examples of all these in a moment. Okay. So a customer success story is 3 questions answered. When I want a customer success story, I want a testimonial from a customer, I just send them these 3 questions. I say, can you answer these 3 questions? What's your life before our product? What's your life after? What's your favorite thing about it? And then they come back to me with this. And it's super short, super easy. I used to hate running webinars because of how long they took to set up and integrate with my landing pages and my CRM. Since switching to Webinar Ninja, I now spend minutes rather than hours setting up webinars. Love the professional looking landing pages and email autoresponder sequences that go with them. Okay, so here we go. Before, I used to hate this. After, since switching, this is my life. This is my favorite thing, the landing pages and the autoresponder sequences. Dynamite. Because the reason why this works so well is because these questions are the same questions somebody who does not have your product or service is asking themselves, right? What is it going to be after I buy this? You know, what is something that I'm going to find surprisingly interesting or good about your product? Okay. So let me put you this offer into action. This is an actual offer I'm going to give you right now. Okay. A real one. Okay. So what's next? Next step. Okay. Follow along with the steps I just showed you. Okay. What's next? Okay. You have 2 options right now, guys. I just showed you how to create engagement in your webinars to get more sales. I gave you an offer a template of how to deliver your offer, okay? How to sandwich it with a great customer success story, okay? But now you got to put it into action, right? Option number one, you can get the same results and keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing right now. Don't do anything different. Get the same results and possibly keep struggling if you're struggling right now. Or maybe you're just getting mediocre results. This is something that I've learned in my life, is that it's very easy to stay comfortable, right? If you want to get better and better, you got to do something different. And different sometimes is a little bit challenging at the start, but it's okay. This is how we grow. This is how we get results. So option number one, just keep doing what you're doing, get the same results. Option two, get started with us at Webinar Ninja and get better results and do it the easy way, right? And have the support of our whole team that is rooting for you to make sure that you're successful with your next webinar. Okay. That's option number two. So, would you like to do everything I just showed you in today's webinar with far greater ease? Right? Let me know in the chat. Would you like to learn how to do this? And by the way, today on the webinar, I'm going to give you a chance to get started for free. I'm actually not asking you to spend any money today, okay? Because I really believe that in order for you to make a decision, and really that's what sales is helping you make a decision, right? In order for you to make a decision that's right for you, you need to have all the information, and part of that is using the product or service, okay? So, would you like to do it with fast and helpful support, as well as all the templates and all the tutorials beyond this? So we have dedicated tutorials on sales, on email marketing, on presentation and camera presence, all kinds of stuff like that, with one tool. So you can run everything I just taught you today with one tool. You don't need to buy anything else. You don't have to buy landing page software, email software, anything like that. Everything is built inside of Webinar Ninja, okay? So today, I'm going to show you how you can do this with Webinar Ninja, okay? With Webinar Ninja, you're going to get unlimited live webinars. Every single webinar you run, you could do as many as you like. You could do 5 in a month. You could do 50 in a month. Doesn't matter. We will give you unlimited webinars. You could do demos, Q&As, that Ask Me Anything webinar I talked about, coaching. You can make unlimited offers. And every single live webinar is recorded automatically and saved in your account and no extra charge. And you have unlimited storage in your account. Okay. And it gets recorded automatically, and it's ready for you within seconds right after the webinar. Okay. You also get unlimited landing pages and statistics. So we have built-in custom templates that you can use. You have some really great detailed analytics about who attended, who didn't attend, when they left, when they joined, who clicked on offers, who clicked on polls, what answers did they answer on the poll, all kinds of stuff. So that you can save and review all that data. Data is huge, by the way, in business, because it allows you to make better decisions. You can run paid webinars. Every webinar can be turned into a paid webinar, so you can charge for a live workshop. Many of our users use this feature to kind of test pilot a bigger product or a bigger course that they may be doing, or a coaching program where they'll run a 2-hour workshop. They'll charge $50, $100. If they get bites, if they get good results, then they'll turn that into a bigger live program. We have unlimited emails that are timed and automated, as well as segmented emails based on people that attended and not attend. So it's super, super easy and built in. Okay. You're going to get access to the Webinar Ninja Academy, which is inside of Ninja Town. Over 40 different videos on how to present, how to sell, how to market, all the tech and gear that you need. So it's like a mini crash course training on how to be great at webinars, and it's included inside. Okay. You're also going to get all the templates, the scripts, the frameworks we talked about. The slide templates, the email scripts, the webinar frameworks, all the different email actual scripts that you can just plug and play and use so that you can sell more with your products and services. Okay. And you're going to start a 14-day free trial. You're not going to pay anything today. Okay. So you're going to be able to get started for free for the first 14 days. And then if you're happy with it, you can just stick around and you'll be charged. If you're not happy with it, you can cancel before the 14 days. No harm, no foul. You don't have to do anything that is like strenuous. You don't have to get like an act of Congress passed. You can easily just go into your account and cancel with a few clicks. Okay. You can always change your plan as well if you want to change your plan. Okay. Now, before the guys, as you know, we haven't been around 6 months or a year. We've been around for over 8 years. Okay. And that's like 50 years in the internet, right? So we've been around for 8 years, and we've had so many happy customers, love our product and service, and not only because of the software, but also because of the community and the support they get. They get to chat with our support. Our average response time to any support email or message is less than 5 minutes. Okay. That's how important our service is. We love, love, love responding to our customers with amazing service quickly so that you get answers very quickly. I actually challenge you to go to any other software company, not even just webinar software, like course platform, whatever. You will see the biggest pain point that people have is that the customer service stinks. We have prided on ourselves in making sure our customer service is great. We have a great team. They're amazing, and our customers rave about them, as well as the tool and the product itself, and the community along with it. So you're going to join good company. And remember, you don't need to make a decision right now. What most people do is they get started with a free trial. They get a result. They run their Ask Me Anything webinar. They get everything they need. They get started. And within 14 days, they have all the information to say, yep, this is a good fit for me. I'm ready to go. And I'm good for the year to run amazing webinars. Okay, guys, there you have it. That is today's webinar. And I wanted to give you my offer to also show you an example. But of course, if you have any questions, I'm going to answer them. I see Brandon's got a question I'm going to answer right here. Brandon says, how long do you spend on the offer? 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Just curious on the time frame. So I typically only spend about 10 minutes, Brandon. It's kind of like sharpening your saw or your knife a few times before you cut, right? They say like sharpen twice, cut once. I really think the most important thing about the webinar is giving great value, building that trust, engaging with your audience, because if you do that right, and I've been on the receiving end, we've all been on the receiving end as a customer. If you do that right, they're just like, okay, I'm sold. What do you got for me? I love what you have. I love what you're all about. This sounds great. Show me what you got. And you don't really need to belabor the thing, especially if you have a return policy or you have a money back guarantee or a trial like we have. They're not really making a huge commitment. If they buy, they can get out of that commitment if it's not a good fit for them. And by giving them just a special offer, you give them a reason to buy now so they can lock in this deal, like this 15% off with the code. Then you don't really need to spend too much time. And the point here is that, again, like I mentioned, I know that there's going to be a percentage of people, for me, it's about 10% people will buy on the webinar. Okay. But what about the rest of the people? What about the other 90%? Right? Maybe they're not ready to buy. Maybe they're thinking about it. Maybe they need. I want to spend most of my time building trust and building, because I want to make sure that they're going to come back and buy. They're going to really. My offer is making them aware of what we do and what we have, so that they're ready. If they're ready to buy right now, they go ahead and buy. And if they're not, then they'll come back later. Does that make sense? Let me know, Brandon, if that makes sense to you. Good stuff. Great answer. Thanks for that. Awesome stuff. Brandon is legit. Love using the webinars. Thank you so much, Brandon. And the support is super fast. It's better than Zoom, WebinarJam, and any others. Thanks, Brandon. Checks in the mail. No, thank you so much for that amazing testimonial. We love running this company to serve entrepreneurs like you and everybody on today's webinar. Awesome stuff. All right, guys, thank you so much for being on today's webinar. If you have any questions, you can always ask customer support. If you go to webinarninja.com, there's a little chat bubble. You can contact our support team. They can answer your questions at any time if you have anything that's unanswered. Of course, you're going to get a replay, like I mentioned. And of course, I am going to give you the free gift I mentioned to you, the handout. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and you can download the pre-webinar checklist so that you can have that for your files. Thank you so much, guys, for being on today's webinar and being amazing participants. I'll see you on the next one, and hopefully I'll see you inside the community, inside of Ninja Town, if you've joined Webinar Ninja. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.